Today on our 2016 Chevrolet Traverse, we're going to be taking a look at and installing the Roadmaster Diode 7-wire to 4-wire Flexo-Coil wiring kit, part number RM-15247. This kit does a great job of making it really simple when you're ready to hook up your towed vehicle to your motorhome, because as soon as you plug it in, whenever you use the lights on your motorhome, the lights on your car will work in conjunction with the lights on your motorhome. And it's got wiring that runs all the way back to the rear tail lights with diodes. What's great about those diodes is that prevents any issues from the signal that comes from the motorhome to potentially come back into the vehicle's electrical system and cause an issue. Now, let's show you how to install this wiring kit. I've gone ahead and routed the 4-pole wiring from the front of the vehicle all the way to the back to where it will be ready to go up towards the tail lights. And I started by taping it to one of the connection posts here at the front, and then I routed it back underneath the radiator and condenser where it came out here, and I ran it along the cross frame here, and then I zip tied it along the top of my cross member and ran it along and came down here along the side of the subframe, and I tied it using zip ties in locations just to make sure it stayed secure. Then I went into the frame here and guided it towards the back, and that helps it to stay away from the hot exhaust. And wherever you decide to route yours, you do want to be sure to avoid hot things like the exhaust or moving parts that may damage it. I ran inside the frame and came out this hole back here, and then ran up behind this heat shield and up over the rear axle, and then clipped it into the extra location in that brake line bracket right there, and continued routing it up along the frame towards the rear, then over the hitch, and then over the bumper there towards the passenger side tail light. We'll need to take both of our outer tail light sections off. In order to do that, you take a flathead screwdriver, pop these little tabs out so you can rotate them down. They'll just hang there. And you'll need a 7mm socket in order to take the screw out that's in both of those. With both of those screws loosened and removed, you can gently take the taillight and work it out towards the rear of the vehicle. It's got that red tab. What you need to do is take that red tab and push it out towards the wires there so it gets popped out and separated a little bit. And then squeeze down on that red tab. And then it'll release your connector from the back of your tail light. So we'll repeat that same process for the other side. Now I'll take some old airline tubing to use as a fish wire, and I'm going to feed it down the inside of the rear fascia here so that it comes out the bottom. Then I can use that to pull that wire, that 4-pole wire, up towards the tail light here. Now with the fish wire underneath here, I'll get ready to attach my wiring, and I'm going to separate this yellow wire from the other 4 because that one just needs to go to the driver's side. With the yellow wire separated, I'll take my other 3 wires and attach them to my fish wire here. And I'll take a little bit of electrical tape just to help secure these to my fish wire to make sure that for some reason they wouldn't accidentally come off of the fish wire. So now we'll go back up top and pull our fish wire through. Now I'll use a test light in order to check to see which wire is bringing in the tail light power. Okay, so we've got the brown wire bringing our tail light power to our connector here, which helps make it easier because the brown wire that's on our 4-pole wiring that we brought up here is going to be our tail light. So the brown will match to the brown. Now I'll check for brake light power. So that light blue wire there is bringing in the power for our brake lights. We'll need to take this green wire and connect it to the blue wire on here so that our brake light can serve as our turn signal and our brake light, because we'll only have one wire coming back here. So now we'll check the driver's side connector for tail light power. So over here on the driver's side, that purple wire is going to be our tail light power, so that's what we'll be connecting that brown wire to when we bring it back over here. And then we'll check for brake light power. And it's going to be that light blue wire on this side as well. So now I'll take our brown wire that's coming from the vehicle, and we'll clip that. We'll strip both ends of that back. And then we'll take our brown wire from the 4-pole and cut it to about the length that we'll need. Strip the end of that wire back as well. But then with that, I'll take that excess brown wire that I cut off, and I'll take one end of that and strip that back. Then I'll take the two ends of my 4-pole brown wire and twist them together. And on the diodes that come with the kit, there's going to be one of these yellow spade connectors, which is larger. Be using that one, and we'll slide it over those two wires we just twisted together. What this is going to allow us to do is to make sure that that power that comes to this side for the tail light also goes to the other side. So this extra section of brown wire is going to get routed back to the driver's side tail light. So when you crimp it down, you want to make sure it's nice and secure. And then on our other two connections here, we'll put blue spade connectors. Any of the connections that I have like this, I'll take a little bit of electrical tape. I'm just going to wrap it around there to help make sure that it prevents moisture from getting in there and possibly corroding and compromising our connection inside. So I'll be doing that with all the terminals that I connect to the wire from this point on. Now we'll take our blue brake wire and then the green wire off our 4-pole, and we'll do that same thing to connect them. We just won't be using a yellow spade terminal. We'll be using all three blue. Now I'm going to clean off an area underneath the tail light here in order to mount our diodes once we've got them hooked up, and they've got double-sided sticky tape on the back. So I'm going to use a little bit of rubbing alcohol on a rag. I'm just going to wipe down here to where I'll have room to be able to mount my diodes. Now with my diodes, it's got the side with 2 spades on it and then 1. The side with 2 will be taken for the tail lights. We use the brown wire coming from the vehicle and the brown wire coming from our 4-pole, which will be from the motorhome. We'll plug those two into that side, and then on the other side we'll plug in the brown wire that goes out to the taillight connector. And then for the blue and green, we'll do the same thing, coming from the vehicle and coming from the motorhome will be on the same side, and then going out to the taillight connector on the single outside. Now I'll take my diodes and I'll peel the cover off of the double-sided sticky tape. I'll take that Put it down in the area I cleaned off there. Then I'll do the same thing for the other one. I'll put this one just below it. So now I'll take that brown wire that I added back on. I'm just going to feed it so that it goes underneath the vehicle. So then I can begin to route it towards the other side. Now finally, with our white wire here, we'll need to cut it to length so that on the end of it we can install a ring terminal that will ground our wiring to the vehicle so that it can operate. Then I'll use the self-tapping screw provided with the kit, and I'll find a good place in the body to ground it. You want to make sure that wherever you decide to put your ground at, that it is clear of anything behind where you're putting it, like wiring or anything like that you may potentially damage. Now we can reconnect our pigtail to our connector here. Put that down and reinstall our taillight. I used the fish wire to route the brown and yellow wires through the bumper rail here so that they're tucked up and protected. Went all the way through and then came out this side over here, and then used a fish wire again to pull it up through the tail light. Now that brown wire was a little bit too short to go all the way back up through, so what I did is took some of the excess white ground wire that I cut off, and I used that to extend the wire. And in order to make those connections, I used Deca heat shrink butt connectors. And if you'd like to get some of those on our site, you can get them part number DW05743-5. So now we'll take our brown wire and get it connected to a diode along with this purple wire. Then we'll get our yellow wire coming from the motorhome hooked up to our blue wire on this side. Now I can begin to hook up our wires on this side. I cleaned that same area off that I did on the other side in order to mount the diodes. Then we'll reinstall our tail light. Now what we need to do is we need to get our 4-round connector hooked up front to our 4-pole wiring. Before I begin hooking this up, I'm going to attach our 4-round connector to our little adapter bracket that's going to go between. So I'll use the small flathead bolts that come with the kit. Once I've got it started through, on the back side, I'll take a 1/4-inch lock washer and a 1/4-inch nut and get it started. Then I'll do that same thing for the other side here. Then I'll use a 3/8 wrench and a flathead screwdriver in order to tighten them up. Now we need to split our wires here so that we can work with each one separately. Now we need to take the pins out of our 4-round connector. In order to do that, it's got this small Phillips head screw on the top. So we'll need to remove that. This is a really small screw, so it can be easy to lose, so you want to make sure you keep track of it. Then you can open up the front, and the pin should fall right out. So you can take this little sleeve off the back, and that'll expose where we'll be connecting all of our wires. Take our wires and feed them through the back, that rubber grommet in the back of our connector. Then you want to feed them through so that you've got some room to work with them. Now we'll take the wires and feed this sleeve over. Now I can take the ends of those wires and I'll strip them back. Now using that same small Phillips head screwdriver, you can loosen up all the set screws that hold the wires in. You want to back them out far enough that the wire will be able to slide in there, but you don't want to take them all the way out. Now that little set screw goes in the top there, so that'll be the top, and then in the instructions it gives you a diagram to let you know which wire is going to need to go to which. And so that top left one up there, which is going to be that one that my thumb's on, is going to be our left side or driver's side turn and brake signal, which is going to be the yellow wire. So we'll take the exposed part, slide it in there, and tighten down that set screw. Once you've got that set screw tightened down, you just want to make sure it's in there snugly. So then the one next to it, the other one on the top, is going to be our right turn and stop signal. So that's our green wire. And then our bottom left is our ground. That's our white wire. And then that leaves our brown wire to go in the last location, which is our tail lights. Now I'll take our little sleeve and slide it back over our terminals on the back side there. And then we'll take the housing for our connector, pull it back up into place. You want to be sure to align the little nut that's in there for the set screw up at the top. Next thing we need to do is take our wiring and attach the bracket to the mounting points here on the base plate. We'll use the self-tapping screws that come with the base plate to do that. Now that everything's hooked up, we need to test it and make sure that the system's working properly. You can also hook it up to your motorhome and test it by running the lights on the motorhome itself. So first we'll check the right brake and turn signal. Then we'll check the left brake and turn signal. And finally the tail lights. That's going to complete our look at and installation of the Roadmaster Diode 7-wire to 4-wire Flexo-Coil wiring kit, part number RM-15247, on our 2016 Chevrolet Traverse.
Click the link below to shop, learn more, or visit us at eTrailer.com.